2025. I am your presenter this morning. My name is Joseph Fadul. In the headlines, Calypso icon Gordon Henderson says the late Fitzroy Williams will be remembered for his passion and vibrant spirit. In news from the region, teachers in Antigua end industrial action. And on the international scene, the U.S. stock market experiencing its worst week as Donald Trump's 10% tariffs on the UK kick in. The details of these and other stories come up next.
The first competition in round 1 of the DBS Radio Felix Henderson National Reading Competition, headline sponsored by Dragon Windows, takes place on Monday, April 7, 2025 at the W.S. Stevens School. Participating in Competition 1, Benz Primary, Concord Primary, Lighthouse Christian Academy, Paybush Primary, Temple SDA, Wesley Primary, and W.S. Stevens School. Competition 1 in round 1 of the DBS Radio Felix Henderson National Reading Competition under the theme Reading and Calypso, Monday, April 7, 2025 at the W.S. Stevens School. Competition begins at 2:30 p.m. and will be carried live on all DBS radio frequencies and social media platforms.
DBS News.
Welcome back to the DBS Major Morning News. First up this morning, Calypso icon Gordon Henderson says the late Fitzroy Williams will be remembered for his passion and vibrant spirit. The late Fitzroy Williams, who helped form Exile One, died in Martinique last month and will be laid to rest this morning following a funeral mass at 10 o'clock. A vigil and celebration of his life was held at the factory on Valley Road last night.
Fitzroy's talent made him a highly sought after musician. He began to play with numerous bands, and when I started gaining recognition in the music industry, I asked Fitzroy to record my first album with me and ask him to select musicians. He did that, and the group Exile One was formed, and together we made legacy. Fitzroy had a deep love for carnival. There are times when, regardless where we were on this planet, he would skip out, sometimes due to illness, he said, but often because of his passion for the celebration of Carnival. Fitzroy was the first member of Exile One to get married, where we all cried as we gathered in a small church in Bordeaux in France, where our drummer, deceased Crookie, played No Woman, No Cry of Bob Marley on his boombox. Fitzroy was a dedicated family man, and we celebrated the arrival of his son, David. Reflecting on 63 years is no small task, and I hope that we remember Fitzroy Dyer Williams. We honor not only his musical talent, but also his passions and his very vibrant spirit.
Calypso icon Gordon Henderson. Meantime, Catholic priest Father Branca John, who presided over last night's vigil, says Fitzroy Williams' contribution to music should inspire other Dominicans.
While we remember our brother and his contribution to our culture and to music in Dominica and putting Dominica on the musical map, it is also important for us to remember that life is a journey. And part of it is spent here on earth. But we will depart from this life. We will not be here forever. While we are here, it is important to make a positive contribution to our community. Fitzroy made his contribution in the form of music and in his family and friends, in the friendships that he had, in the relationships that he cultivated. But we remember him tonight in a powerful way for his musical contribution. This man was a giant and will remain a giant in Dominica's music, in music throughout the world. His contribution has been made, and now he has left us in the flesh. We are still here. We can still make our contribution. as long as we are here. And so I want to exhort us tonight to do that while we can.
Father Branca John, Cultural Ambassador Leroy Waddix Charles says Dominica has lost a highly talented musician.
His contributions to music were not limited to Exile 1. Fitzroy talent was sought after in various corners of the globe, from the Cape Verde Islands to French Guyana. He played with numerous bands and left an indelible mark on every project he touched. His collaboration with the late great Jeff Joe and the Gramax New Generation was breathtaking. Once again, the heavens were generous to me. I experienced several of those performances at the World Creole Music Festival and throughout the French Antilles. He was not just a musician, he was a pioneer, a driving force behind the modern music movement in Dominica. Fitzroy's personal life was marked by both joy and sorrow. He was a devoted father to his son David and his daughter Tessie. Though he faced challenges of widowhood and health issues, he remained resilient, continuing to perform and share his passion for music until the very, very end. Fitzroy Dyer Williams was a true legend, a foundational member of modern music movement and a beloved friend. He will surely be missed, but his legacy will live on in the hearts of those he inspired and the music that continues to resonate through the islands and beyond. What I heard this evening is testimony why we should embrace this musical genre that was created in 1973, and Fitzroy was an integral part of Dominica's first international genre.
Cultural Ambassador Leroy Waddix Charles. Two men have been granted bail in the sum of $25,000 following the appearance at the Magistrates Court on Friday, charged with unlawful assembly on March 19th. Ronaldo Luke reports.
Albert Timothy of Mount Prosper and Melvin John Baptist of Great Marlborough Street, Roseau, were the 21st and 22nd individuals charged for their alleged involvement in the March 19, 2025 protest action in Roseau. On that date, the men are accused of unlawfully, riotously, and tumultuously assembling to the disturbance of the public, contrary to the provision of Section 4 of Chapter Number 1002 of the Riot Act of the Consolidated Laws of Dominica of 2017. At their court appearance before Magistrate Hansel Valerie, the defendants were not required to enter a plea, as the matter is an indictable offense, expected to be tried at the High Court. During the hearing, Police Prosecutor Sergeant Etienne raised no objection to bail and did not propose any bail conditions. Consequently, Attorney Ronald Charles, who represented the accused men, presented two proposed sureties to the court. Following an assessment, both were deemed fit and proper persons to stand bail for John Baptist and Timothy. Bail was granted in the sum of $25,000 with no conditions attached. The matter was adjourned to August 21, 2025 for the commencement of the preliminary inquiry. This week, a total of 8 individuals appeared before the magistrate court charged with unlawful assembly, bringing the total number of people charged to 22. The police say their investigations continue and more charges are expected to be preferred. Ronaldo Luke reporting for DBS News.
Meantime, a Maho man who was charged with attempted murder in connection with a shooting incident at Campbell has been remanded in custody at a stock farm.
30-year-old Dylan Victorine appeared before the St. Joseph Magistrate Court charged with attempted murder of Meshach Esprit and Ethan John Baptist of Campbell. The police earlier reported that on February 25, 2025, at Bon Repos Campbell, the two men sustained gunshot wounds at about 8:45 p.m. Following investigations carried out by the police, the charge of attempted murder was preferred against Victorine. During his court appearance, the accused was not required to enter a plea, as the matter is an indictable offense, expected to be tried at the High Court. At the hearing, the prosecution objected to bail on 4 grounds, noting that the firearm used in the offense remained unrecovered and one of the virtual complainants is still hospitalized at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. The prosecution also argued that if the accused was released, he could interfere with witnesses and that it would not be in the public's interest to grant him bail. In response, attorney Wayne Norde, who represents Fitzroy, contended that none of the prosecution's argument aligned with the provision of the Bail Act. He noted that the accused was initially arrested in February, released thereafter, and at no point interfered with any of the witnesses or the virtual complainants before being rearrested and charged. Norde urged the court to uphold the presumption of innocence, emphasizing that bail should not be used as a tool to detain individuals whilst the police continue their investigation. The presiding magistrate ruled that bail would be reviewed in 1 month and ordered that the accused be remanded into custody at the Dominica State Prison until such time. The matter was adjourned to August 19, 2025 for the commencement of the preliminary inquiry. Ronaldo Luke reporting for DBS News.
Oh, thanks once again to Ronaldo Luke for that report. The Business Training Center has reached a new milestone with the introduction of the General Education Development or GED program. This program allows high school dropouts and adult learners in Dominica to obtain a high school diploma even if they did not finish traditional high school. CEO of the Business Training Center, Lucia Stedman, says this diploma is internationally accepted.
Business Training Center is proud to announce that it is now officially authorized to deliver the GED, General Education Development Program. That is an internationally recognized high school equivalency credential. This milestone offers a vital second chance for individuals who did not complete traditional secondary education, enabling them to advance in their studies or career paths. BTC is committed to empowering individuals with flexible and accessible educational opportunities. The GED program is a game changer for those who want a second chance at academic success. This high school diploma covers 4 core subjects, ensuring comprehensive readiness for higher education and professional pursuits. The GED covers mathematical reasoning, reasoning through language arts, science, and social studies. The GED high school diploma is an international high school diploma that is recognized internationally. It is used, for example, in the US, where if a person in the US did not complete a regular high school, you would have to do the GED classes and exam. As you are aware, in the Commonwealth of Dominica, our high school diplomas are issued by the secondary schools, and our minimum requirements in our secondary schools are CXCs. The GED high school diploma is the international level. It's compared to the Caribbean high school diploma. So you'd find that if a Dominican were to go to St. Martin, to go to the UK, anywhere in the world, to the US, and they do not have a high school diploma from one of our local secondary schools, that GED high school diploma can take them anywhere in the world.
And that was CEO of the Business Training Center, Lucia Stedman. Well, the latest IMF assessment of Dominica suggests that the economy will grow by 4% this year. Kiwana Fontaine-Wilson reports.
The IMF says Dominica's economy has continued its expansion. The report noted that real gross domestic product, GDP, grew by 3.5% in 2024, supported by a recovery in tourism and targeted development investment to boost economic capacity and competitiveness. It said inflation has eased from its 2023 peak of 7%, averaging 3.1% in 2024. The IMF revealed that tourism arrivals have surpassed pre-pandemic levels by roughly 32%, but the composition has shifted towards cruise visitors over stayovers. The International Financial Institution says the labor market recovery remains uneven, however, with formal employment lagging behind overall growth. Fiscal balances have narrowed, but public debt remains high and above pre-pandemic levels. The IMF reports that Dominica's financial system is stable and liquid, and the credit union sector is expanding its lending portfolio rapidly. According to the IMF, Dominica's economy will continue to expand, underpinned by ongoing development investments. Kiwana Fontaine-Wilson reporting.
Thank you very much to Kewana Fontaine Wilson for that report. Let's move over to some health news where a Dominican male has died from leptospirosis. National epidemiologist Dr. Shaludin Ahmed says cases of leptospirosis have emerged for the first time since the passage of Hurricane Maria in 2017.
We are closely monitoring emerging leptospirosis cases with 10 suspected patients hospitalized in March. Samples were sent to CARFA for PCR testing, and laboratory results have confirmed 2 positive cases, including 1 fatal outcome. The deceased patient sought medical care at late stage of infection and died from multi-organ failure, a severe complication of leptospirosis. Given diagnostic challenges, early symptoms like fever, headache, and muscle pain mimic common illnesses, and testing delays can hinder timely confirmation. We are taking proactive measures. 1, providing immediate empirical antibiotic treatment for suspected cases to prevent severe outcomes. 2, distributing updated clinical guidelines to healthcare workers to aid early recognition. And 3, educating high-risk groups on avoiding exposure to stagnant rainwater, rodent habitats, and contaminated soil. Physicians should maintain a high index of suspicion, particularly for patients with exposure history, recent heavy rainfall, and clinical signs like conjunctival suffusion or severe cough pain. These alerts also serves as a critical public reminder to avoid high-risk exposures.
Leptospirosis is caused mainly by rats, manicous, and agoutis. Dr. Ahmed is encouraging the public to seek medical attention urgently if they believe that they were exposed to the threat of leptospirosis.
So my message to the people, if you are in contact with risk factors that I mentioned, then and you develop some symptoms, then please seek immediate medical attention. The earlier you come to or seek the medical care, it is better for you and better for the physician to really administer the medication on time. Actually, there were no cases in 2024. The last time we had leptospirosis, it was way back in during Hurricane Maria, actually afterward Hurricane Maria. That's when we had confirmed cases of leptospirosis. We did have some suspected cases, but that turned out to be negative afterward. This is the first time we are seeing so many suspected cases, 10 suspected cases within a month period. So this is something that we are investigating. As I mentioned, all 10 samples, the result for sample came back, and they were all negative except 2 cases. These are still sporadic cases. They are not cluster. They are not outbreak. These are still sporadic cases. The cases are coming from all different areas of Dominica. Nothing should be concerned about as long as you seek the medical care on time. This is very important point for the general public, that seek medical care as early as possible. Not wait until you cannot urinate, not wait until your eyes looking yellow, not wait until if there any organ failure. Please come early so that we can assess the situation and see what stage you are in.
And that was National Epidemiologist Dr. Shaludin Ahmed. Let's move to news from the region where public school teachers across Antigua returned to their classrooms after the Antigua and Barbuda Union of Teachers, or ABOT, called off industrial action. The decision follows the issuance of appointment letters to all the educators who were eligible for upgrades between 2017 and 2022. The union's General Secretary Sharon Kelsick confirmed that their demands had been met. The resolution comes after teachers staged a sit-in that began at 9 a.m. on April 1. The industrial action, spanning 3 days, was initiated after years of back-and-forth discussions with education authorities regarding delayed appointments. Well, the successful resolution marks the end of a protracted appointment process that had frustrated educators for several years. Internationally, stock markets in the U.S. have ended their worst week since 2020 as Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs continue to cause turmoil on global markets. Well, all three main indexes on Wall Street dropped by more than 5% by the New York Stock Exchange, or when this New York Stock Exchange closed yesterday. Some of the tariffs have now come into force, with the quote baseline 10% charge hitting goods from the UK and many other countries. Trump says that big businesses are not worried about the tariffs, and the higher taxes on imported goods will supercharge the U.S. economy. But some Americans say they are concerned about the economic impact of the tariffs, with the head of the National Black Farmers Association warning they add uncertainty at a critical time. We've come to the end of the DBS Major Morning News. The best in sports comes up next. Stay tuned.
Covering the nation and beyond, DBS Sports Report.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, Portland and tile cement, steel rods, galvanized and fence pipe. And Rudolph Thomas can meet all your wire needs. Galvanized roofing sheets, doors, windows, toilet sets, face basins and bidets. PVC piping, fittings and lattice. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. And Rudolph Thomas is your one-stop shop for hard-to-find items like fiberglass mat and fiberglass resin and welding rods. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
For over 47 years, the National Bank of Dominica Limited has been a cornerstone of our nation's development, standing by our customers at every step. Together, we are shaping a brighter future. We recognize that every journey is different, and we are dedicated to nurturing meaningful relationships. We are here to understand your needs and support your goals. Our personalized services are designed to provide the peace of mind you deserve wherever life takes you. Trust us to be there when it counts. With NBD, you have a partner invested in your success today, tomorrow, and always.
Well, let's begin with the DBS Major Morning Sport with some football news. Well, national player Dante Warrington registered a beaver trick as Promex Harlem United handed newcomers DSFC their fourth straight defeat as the DFA Premier League continued last night at the DFA Technical Center. Well, Warrington put on a clinic with goals and assists as Harlem ran riot, taking the match 6-1. Dwayne Etienne and Tyrese John Baptiste also got onto the score sheet for Harlem, while Nixon Paquette got the lone goal for DSFC. Well, Dante Warrington was named man of the match.
Well, I've been waiting for this game because, I come from Point Michel and it's a Point Michel team, so, bragging rights. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the impact that you had on the game, goals and assists as well.
Well, Gavin, that is just a natural thing in my game. I've been training all week, looking forward to this game. I wasn't rushing my plays, I know the time will come, the goals will come, so I just play my normal game.
And I'm sure this must be a real confidence booster for you as you look to continue this season and, pick up from where you left off last season with that great form that you had.
Yes, man, Gavin. I looking to, impress my coaches, impress the national coach. We have 2 games up in me. I want to, select my, make my pick there natural. Yeah.
Man of the match, Dante Warrington. Meantime, Harlem captain Kasim Peltier says despite the win, his team could have done better.
Could have been better, way much better, but I accept what the boys give me tonight, and we're looking forward to our next game. Come next week, put in a hard week of training, and next fixture, we on again.
Saying that it could have been better, I'm guessing that you're referring to the first half where the team squandered many chances in front of goal.
Not just in the first half, overall in the game, both first and second half, we showed a lot of goals and giving up an easy goal, we could have come out with a clean sheet. A little bit of slipping in the back line, and then we conceded a goal yet again.
Nonetheless, you must be very happy with the way Dante Warrington went about his business today. Will be named the man of the match. Getting a hat trick, I believe, as well. Quick word on to Dante as to how special he was.
Dante is a great player for us and a great player overall. From we signed him last season, we know what he was capable of and what he can bring to our team. And whatever he has and what he can contribute to our team, we're taking it and do the right things.
Do the right things. All right, what can you take from this victory moving forward as Harlem, getting rid of that shaky start that you had to the season?
I'll take the finishing of the few goals that we scored, a little bit of 6 goals, but I must say the confidence of the players and the drive to push forward, we'll take it and go on to the next match.
That was Promex Harlem captain Kasim Peltier. Well, the loss was the 4th for the season for DSFC. Head coach Kunta Charles says there is work to be done.
I really can't tell you what went wrong, Gavin. As you could see in the first half, they tried to implement the plan I wanted, bounce the ball and things, which we haven't been doing in the last couple of games. We changed the formation a bit to try to accommodate some of our players because we have a lot of players playing out of position currently. We'll still continue doing that until we get our team back to normal, I should say. I feel like I'm overworking some of my players out of position, especially people like Captain Jante. I feel like Deli and Shem at the back being overworked. So I think sooner or later, I think next 2 games we should be in a better situation. I mean, I can't wait for it, but that's how it is. That's the reality.
DSFC head coach Kunta Charles. Well, football action continues this afternoon with Belfast Estate Maho Soca Strikers taking on the Petro Caribe Point Michel. That's taking place at the DFA Technical Center, and at the Dubla, it's the North Derby with the undefeated Roosevelt Skerrit Bombers taking on league champions Central Cooperative Credit Union Dubla FC. Both games get underway at 5 p.m. Well, let's bowl over and bat to some cricket, where Cavem Hodge fell just 1 run short of a century, putting the Windward Islands in a solid position. And now it's for the bowlers to take the team home as the Volcanoes and Barbados Pride head into the final day of their CWI Regional 4-day match in St. Lucia. Well, Hodge got run out for 99 as the Windwards made 316 in their second innings. Alec Athanas got 78 and Shadrach Descott 50. Raymond Simmons picked up 4 for 47 for Barbados. Barbados chasing 304 for victory with 144 for 3 at stumps on day 3. Shane Mosley got 61 not out and Jonathan Drake's 35. Scores headed into the final day. Volcanoes 186 and 316. Barbados 198 and 144 for 3. Barbados need 181 more runs for victory. Meantime, Brad Barnes got a 4-wicket haul as Jamaica picked up a crushing win over Trinidad last night. Trinidad chasing 389 to win were bowled out under the lights for 165. Barnes took 4 for 19 with his off breaks. The final scores in that game: Jamaica 372 and 187. Trinidad 171 and 165 all out. Jamaica won by 223 runs. Elsewhere, Kevlon Anderson and Tevin Imlach registered centuries for Guyana in their match with the Leeward Island Hurricanes. Anderson got 101, Imlach 103 not out as Guyana reached 381 for 4 at stumps on day 3. Scores in that game: Guyana 193 and 381 for 4. The Leeward Islands 335. Well, Guyana leads by 239 runs, and John Jeremiah got a century as the combined campuses and colleges, the CCC, pushed their lead against the West Indies Academy past 200. Jeremiah hit 107 as the CCC reached 279 for 4 at stumps on day 3. Scores so far: CCC 238 and 279 for 4. The West Indies Academy 316. The CCC leads by 201 runs. Let's bounce to some basketball news where the Dominica State College got the better of the Pierre Charles Secondary School, PCSS, as the Sports Division Secondary Schools Under-20 Boys Basketball Tournament continued on Friday. The college took the match 66-60 at the center court in Grand Bay. Kalen Paul had 16 and Dretsuan Lee 21 points for college. Karim Daniel got 42 for the PCSS. Koma Telema got 14 points for the PCSS. Meantime, in the other match between the defending champions Academics and the Portsmouth Secondary School, set for the American Canadian School of Medicine, did not take place due to rain. Well, let's run across to some athletics news where president of the Dominica Athletics Association, Brendan Williams, is hoping to see more qualifiers from this weekend's final Carifta Game trials at the Windsor Park. So far, 5 Dominicans have qualified for the 2025 games to be held in Trinidad. Dominica will also have a mixed relay team in the sprints event. The final qualifiers will be held on Sunday. Williams says only qualified athletes will represent Dominica at the games.
We decided that we're going for qualified athletes only. We had a discussion with the affiliates before the season, and the only way that we could get ranking points to enter any other competition besides Carifta, for example, the relay team, is by actually starting at the Carifta. So we're actually looking for ranking points so that these athletes can enter other competitions such as Pan Am and CC, NACAC events. We see based on the times that the athletes are running, we could make the top 5 in that event. So that is why we had that discussion with the affiliates, and everyone agreed to have the mixed relay team. As it relates to the other athletes getting the nod for those who may be closest, some athletes had well over 9 opportunities to qualify. And they did not meet the mark. So we would not want to have a subjective conversation in terms of who would be the best person, whose distance or whose time would be closest. Because as you know, we are looking at jumps, sprints, and throws. So it's all based on the athletes to qualify, and based on that, they will get the nod to go on to the Carifta Games.
That was president of the Dominica Athletics Association, Brendan Williams. Dominica's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt is hopeful that the lights at the Windsor Park will be operational before the end of the year. Government announced earlier this week that the Dominica National Lotteries will fund the lighting project in the region of $14 million. Speaking on the Creole Heartbeat program this week, Prime Minister Skerritt says initial efforts to restore the lights were met with some challenges.
We had signed a contract already for over $4 million to put in the infrastructure, the basis of this. So in that way, people speak as if we had abandoned the lights. No, the reason why we have found ourselves in a situation because concerns were raised about the compatibility of the base that we're putting in and the light infrastructure, because these 2 contracts were being done independent of each other, which we should have really been advised properly and say, well, you should have one contract for this. Construct the base and the supply light, because the bolts have to fit.
Be in sync. You have to be in sync.
Because you put in the base for the bolting in the concrete.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so this is where we stopped, because we got advised that the lights that are available, the infrastructure available is different from what we're putting in. So we are spending a significant amount of money on this for the electricals, for the bases and so forth. Those are $4+ million contract. So I don't want people to get the impression that we never did anything with the lights, and that stalled us a bit because we had to get further advice. We had to figure out suppliers, and when you saw the cost, after having spent so much money, then you have to find another $14 million to do this.
Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt. And let's head back to some cricket news as we conclude this morning's sport. Cricket West Indies CEO Chris Derring says that the upcoming Australian tour of the West Indies is shaping up to be another big event for Cricket West Indies. This is the first time in 10 years that the Australians will be touring the Caribbean. The main highlight of the tour will be a historic day-night test between the West Indies and Australia at Sabina Park in Jamaica. The tour will get underway in June. Well, we've come to the end of this evening's edition of the DBS Radio Morning News and Sports. Thank you very much for joining us. Join us at 1:15 for another news package. A main programming highlight for today right here on DBS. Coverage of the funeral of the late Fitzroy Williams. We're going to be streaming that on all our radio frequencies, all our television channels, and of course on the DBS Radio YouTube channel. It's going to be on the YouTube channel. So go to YouTube, look for DBS Radio. If you have not